can you each introduce yourselves and give us a quick overview of what you do at Ordoro?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Megan Doherty. I'm the senior marketing manager here at Ordoro. I kind of just oversee all of the different marketing functions right now. Just turning a lot of lights on, getting a lot of stuff going, trying to grow the business.
I'm Matt Alejandro. I'm the design director here at Ordoro. I've been here since 2012, so I've been here for a minute. My role is multidisciplinary, I guess. Half my time is spent, I do the UI and UX for our web application, try to make that as user-friendly as possible, bring features to life, work with our engineering team pretty closely. And then the other half of my job, I work closely with Megan and Madison, doing all kind of graphic design things for our brand, maintaining our marketing website, working with, we have a creative agency that helps do some creative work with us and kind of oversee them. And so kind of all things design, what I oversee here. We're a small company, so my title is a little, little lofty, but yeah, it's a very hands-on role.
My name's Madison Warden, and my main responsibility and time is towards SEO work. So I'm creating all the demand pages, supporting blog posts, internal linking, and I also am running our social media platforms. I just got started also working on, with Megan, our case studies for our clients, and then any other marketing tasks that I can get my hands on that Megan will throw at me. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that. I think we're ready to dive in now. Kicking things off, who wants to answer this one? Can someone give us a sense of what Ordoro does and what do you do for your customers?
Yeah. So Ordoro is an all-in-one e-commerce fulfillment software. We basically help small to medium-sized e-commerce merchants with all of their order fulfillment, inventory management, and kind of everything that goes along with that. And we've packaged it all into one platform so that they can access all of the tools that they need at a cost that's more affordable to them. And then they don't have to kind of stitch all of these different platforms together. And it just gives them a lot of insight and transparency into their fulfillment workflow.
Awesome. And who is the person buying the software? What is their job?
Most kind of job titles that we see on the smaller side is going to be usually the owner of the business. When you start to drift into more the medium-sized business, it can change over to the CFO or an operations manager, a warehouse manager, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we even have sort of agencies that represent some of the brands that will also come in as a third party while they're setting up their e-commerce situation, I guess, and also add us in because it's kind of the important part of the fulfillment. So yeah, a lot of different personas, I guess, right?
Totally. And then is there any type of businesses that people confuse you with?
I would say the biggest confusion, at least from my point of view, is probably drop shipping. And that's where businesses have, suppliers that they basically they get an order in, but then the supplier will actually fulfill that order rather than the merchant themselves. And a lot of times we'll see merchants coming to us hoping that we will provide them with drop shipping suppliers or things like that, versus kind of where we actually come in is more with the order management side of that and making sure that the right supplier sees the right orders and that they're fulfilling on the right time and some of that stuff, rather than actually kind of helping them set up that business.
Awesome. Okay. And last question about this. If you were describing this to your grandmother or someone who doesn't know the lingo, how would you describe what you do?
That's a good one.
I think it's if imagine we do everything that happens after someone buys something on your store online. So our software helps people print shipping labels and get these things to people's doorstep. All the stuff that we all kind of take for granted, that Amazon does, or Walmart, all these other big e-commerce or even just big box stores. We help them kind of do all that boring stuff and make it easy and try to be as usable and user-friendly as possible.
Maybe we help people that sell products online organize and run their business. That's probably
awesome. Now that we know what Ordoro does and what you all do, can we talk a little bit about the goals of your organic search program? So obviously your Demandwell customers, I actually don't know if you had an organic search program before this, but I guess regardless of Demandwell, you think about organic search, what are the goals that you're trying to accomplish on that channel?
I've only been here for about a year and a half now. So Matt can speak to kind of some of the stuff that Dave did previous to my role here. But in general, I think the biggest thing that we were looking for with organic search was lead generation. That's kind of been like the main focus for us as a marketing department for the past, I mean, since I've been here the past year and a half. So really trying to just kind of see what channels would work for us. And SEO was one of the ones that we decided to dive into. And then I would say, other than that, just like brand awareness is always great. So that's kind of like a secondary goal, but main goal was, quality leads.
And we definitely, being the old timer here, I will say we have not done anything very organized or, it's hard to even put it into words what we've done, but not much, nothing as, concentrated or impactful as what we've done with Demand Well so far. It's just been kind of like random ideas here and there and a couple of like people that have talked to us that said to do this and that, but it's definitely been a thing that we have not done until we started working with y'all. I'd say it all. So we're kind of starting from scratch, honestly.
Cool. Awesome. And then in terms of, so you mentioned lead gen is a goal, brand awareness is a goal. What KPIs are you tracking? Are you tracking them like on a weekly basis? What does that look like to kind of keep tabs on how it's going?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have like our monthly meeting with Betsy, here at Demand Well, and she obviously like goes over a lot of KPIs and stuff with us, but just kind of internally, some of the stuff that we look at are the big ones, just traffic that is driven by organic search, any clicks that we get, conversions that we get, kind of just like the main stuff that you would track. Nothing really like special or unique, I don't think. But in terms of traffic, I think we've tried to keep track of like overall performance, but then also see how many pages we've actually been able to impact and like move their rank up within Google. But I think that probably covers most of it. Do y'all have anything else?
Yes, you have the like outcome tracking where you're like, okay, here's the traffic, here's the leads, here's all the things, the click-through rates. And then you also have kind of leading indicators to that, which is like, okay, so we weren't ranking for this before and now we are. We were ranking for this, but not very highly, but actually now we're on the first page or whatever. So you're kind of like walking things through the whole organic funnel, if we can even call it that.
Right. Yeah. And Demand Well has been super helpful with that. Like the app that y'all have is just incredibly helpful to see where those pages are and then kind of like tactically what the next steps would be to continue to improve the ranking there and then, to improve the conversion rates and everything. And we use HubSpot also internally to keep track of all of our major KPIs. And that's been really helpful too. So being able to kind of like pair those two apps together or platforms together, I think has given us just like a lot of insight into how things are going and kind of what we can do to continue to improve.
Yeah, I love the HubSpot Demand Well combination too. We use that internally at Demand Well as well, which it's really helpful to be like, oh, they landed on this page. I'm assuming they were searching this keyword, like amazing. It's really helpful for tracking demo requests that come from certain pages and all that stuff. Can you guys tell me, I mean, we talked about this already, how organic fits into your marketing strategy. And it seems like you use it as an extension of like any campaign that you're thinking of running, there's an organic component. Like any feedback that you get from sales, you kind of like translate it into what that means for organic, which I think is amazing. And that's definitely what, the best customers that I've talked to, that's what they're doing. It's like, it's just part of their marketing strategy, which is kind of crazy to say because, everyone thinks like that with ads. Like, yeah, of course, every campaign we have an ad, whatever. That's kind of new for organic though, I feel. So anyway, it's awesome that you guys are doing that. I would love to hear more about it. We talked a little bit about like the free trial push that you guys are doing. So we'd love to hear about that and just anything else that you're working on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, before Demand Well, even in other roles that I've had, SEO kind of, I think, took the back seat to a lot of other marketing channels, especially for like lead generation and things like that. I think we kind of just thought of it more as like a best practice thing that you kind of like have to do just to make sure that your site is ranking and, you're not losing out on any traffic that you could be getting. But I think Demand Well was the first time that I actually had like a switch with, my thoughts around SEO and being more active with it and like actually integrating it as, a legitimate channel for lead generation, brand awareness, anything like that. So, that's been, I think, kind of like the biggest change in terms of like marketing strategy, not just for me, but probably also for Ordoro. But yeah, now I think anytime that we're thinking about a new campaign that we want to run, when Madison and I are talking to our sales team or our implementation team with customers that they're talking to or onboarding for the app, any feedback that we get on, this is the platform that they came from, and these are some of the things that we heard, we'll try to integrate that into SEO. And Madison can really dive in here as well. But I think the other big thing was like, with all of this, we started to really double down, and we actually built a tool internally to help us get demand pages out faster and be able to kind of like cultivate that content. And I'll let Matt speak to all of that because he's the technical guy and he can tell you all about it. But I think that's kind of the biggest thing for us, is that like now SEO is truly one of our main outbound marketing, channels that we really rely on and we really believe in.
Yeah. So when we first started working with y'all, again, I've worked on the web for almost 20 years now, and I've always thought like I'm a very big skeptic for a very long time about SEO and its benefits. I was always kind of like black magic, and I didn't understand it. I think mainly I worked at a place where we sold an agency many moons ago, where we sold SEO as part of our package, and it was just like, snake oils type stuff, like not really doing anything. And I kind of like turned me off to it. But working with y'all and seeing that there is a rhyme and reason to all this stuff, and seeing that there is a strategy and you can actually measure things, and you don't have to throw a ton of money at it, honestly, right? I think it's like same with Megan, complete 180. I totally see the benefit of it. I think it's actually really incredible and awesome. And so we started working on the demand pages, doing them manually. We have a sort of homegrown CMS. We don't use like WordPress or anything for our main marketing site. It's really tied in, integrated very closely with our app to like log in. So it's all kind of a homegrown thing. It's very technical for the most part. So I started doing it manually, and with my other workload, that was kind of taking a while, and we were having like freelance writers write them, and then worked with my front end engineer, and he built a tool. And this is right around the time Madison was going to start joining us to help with that, where it's a kind of like a copy paste type situation from getting the content from the third party writers and merging it into our like on GitHub and merging it into our marketing site. So it's a custom front end tool. I think Madison will tell you she never thought she'd be using like Terminal or like a text editor for her job, but she does it. She uses it every week, and she focuses more on just figuring out the keywords and the articles that I'm using Demandwell to like kind of put the like outline together, sending it to the writers. They write it, and then she can publish it very easily within our crazy sort of ecosystem without, with merging code to GitHub and stuff. It's pretty awesome. But we spent a lot of time building that because we started seeing the benefit. And normally we don't build internal tools, or we don't try and like iterate on them unless they're really making an impact. But we started seeing like our impressions just skyrocket on certain pages, moving up page rank from like the 9th page all the way to the 2nd and 1st within like 3 or 4 months. And it was like, wow. And then to top it off, we were getting actual conversions, people signing up and becoming customers from demand pages, which I know are not like in like life cycle 1 of that. So we were like, okay, I am a true believer now in that regard. And so hopefully that makes sense for the tool, but it's pretty neat.
Totally. I love that you guys were like, okay, this thing is working. How can we make it more streamlined?
Absolutely. There you go. That's the streamlined way of saying that. So,
yeah. No, it's great. I think like, for anyone listening who's not familiar with the tool yet, there's this like slightly manual step where basically you take the content that's ready to publish, then you have to like get it into your CMS. And we're actually like internally now, potentially like, I don't know, maybe our CTO heard about it from you guys, but we're trying to streamline that process with the tool since you're not on WordPress, it'll be hard, but for, certain CMSs through integrations and stuff. But I absolutely love that you guys have taken it into your own hands. And do you feel like that has had a big impact on the amount of content that you can publish? Like how much easier is it now with your internal tool?
I'll let definitely Maddie, you should chime in after this, but I will say for me, when I was doing it manually, and I code all the time, that's what most of my job is. It was still taking me, like, I could probably do, like, for reals, we were shooting for like 1 or 2 per month, right? Megan, something like that, like some insanely low number. I know Betsy was kind of like, well, you guys need to do a little bit more. And when we built the tool, I think now Maddie, I think at most we're doing like 20 a month. We've got a few of those, a few months of 20. And yeah, it's sped it up like at least 10x, I'd say, right? And Maddie focusing on full time, I'll let you talk about that. But yeah, it's definitely improved it like by quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Like Matt said, I wasn't here when they first started with Demandwell, but as I've jumped in and as these tools have continued to, have iterations and grow and help me with my process, yeah, we've been able. I think I started out, we were doing 10 demand pages per month, and then we jumped to 20, and now we're at 25. Along with we're adding in 5 supporting blog posts, and then hopefully we're going to move to 10 supporting blog posts in the future. But really has allowed me to kind of focus on what kind of content we're getting out there and easily get everything up and onto the site, which is really fantastic. So yeah, it's been really great.
That's amazing. I think you guys might be candidates for like the most productive demand customers. Like, I don't think I've heard, I mean, that's a lot of content. That is crazy. And you're using writer access for the writing.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And then Maddie, that's not even your only job also. Worth saying.
Right.
Like, you also do other things.
Right. Exactly.
That's pretty amazing. You must be extremely organized.
Try to.
We should have a follow-up case study just on like your organizational techniques.
Thank you so much.
She is by far the most organized, I will say, for sure. So
Yeah.
she keeps, yeah.
Yeah. Madison was definitely one of the most important additions, I think, to the marketing team that we've had. And she is definitely the nicest.
I love that. I want to quickly expand on something that we talked about very briefly here or earlier, which is the sort of like shift in the way that we think about organic. I had the same experience that you guys had, where at my last few companies, organic was kind of like, oh, we're doing it. We're filling out the meta descriptions. We're titling things correctly. We've thought about it. We've thought about SEO, but I didn't know at that time how much one should be or could be doing, and what the impact of that can be. I don't know. Do you guys have any additional thoughts about that you want to share? Or Madison, have you had experiences like that before? I know now you're like totally running the SEO program, so I'm curious to get your take on this as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the past, I have worked for a very small SEO company, and it was very, like you said, kind of just doing all the things, but it really wasn't focused on kind of outcome. And I think specifically with Demandwell has been incredibly helpful of like, okay, and Betsy has been able to steer us towards, this is our goals, this is what we're wanting, and really kind of tailoring us to ensure that we're meeting those goals and having, making sure our audiences are coming in and converting into paying customers. So that has been really nice, especially in the past experience of that hasn't always been the main focus. Whereas with Demandwell, I feel like that, our goal is also y'all's goal for us. So, which is fantastic.
I've had this experience, and I've talked to multiple people who've had the same experience where they're like, oh, I worked with an SEO agency in the past and I don't know how it went. Or like, and then if you dig into their website, you can see, oh, it actually did have a huge impact, but it wasn't like, it's like in impressions, not necessarily conversions, or something that you wouldn't really notice in your day-to-day life unless you go digging for it. I don't know. I don't think Demandwell, we're not like where we want to be in terms of reporting and helping people report on stuff. Like, I think we have a lot of room to grow there, but which we're excited to do. It's like an amazing opportunity. But there is something really nice about like focusing on the end result, because that's the thing that you feel in the end,
Well, I will say, so when we in 2012, long ago, when we were like a 5-person company, we did hire, I can't even remember their name. It was a very small group here in Austin. And I think that they wrote a bunch of blog articles, right, that were, I think kind of fitting the demand page vibe with the word count and stuff. But it's hilarious. A lot of the content is just like not relevant to anything we do at all. Like, it is hysterical. And so there's these very old blog posts on there. And one of them is like the number one, I forget what it's like, for like a business org chart sort of term, that for some reason they wrote this thing. I don't know what the hell is going on, but they just wrote this article. And if you search for this term, I will find it for you. We come up as the number one listing for, like, the number one like organic search result for this thing. And it's like, why would we do that? I mean, so we're getting awareness there, but people are like, Ordoro has nothing to do with the science of business org chart. It's insane. And so what's cool is now we have relevance, we have meaning, and you guys are like, okay, cool, you're getting more impressions now. But how do we turn those into conversions? How does this actually get you guys more revenue? That's what's cool. Whereas then it was like, hey, a lot of people know about you because of some random ass blog post, and it's like we don't care about that. No one. It's crazy, and it's still there, but I need to find it for you.
Exactly. That's the kind of brand impression where you're like, confusing.
Absolutely, yeah. We see it, we're like,
Yeah.
why? What does this have to do with anything? And it's like 2012 was written. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But
That's so funny.
yeah.
So that reminds me of something that like was also a huge aha moment for me when I joined Demandwell and like started using the platform also, where I was like, what do you mean we have 1,000 keywords to go after? Like prior to this, I was like, we just want to rank for like XYZ software, like the really bottom of funnel terms. And this whole thing like opened my eyes to basically there's a full funnel of organic terms that you want to be going for. Some of them are really top of funnel, which I assume is what this SEO agency was going for you guys with this blog post we were just talking about. Like,
I think so,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. This reminds me of SEO campaigns, which is kind of like the way for you guys to take into your own hands, like what's the topic that we want to be ranking for, driving traffic for, what are some things that you actually want to rank for, that you're using campaigns for, or that you've just like placed targeted efforts on?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So yeah, specifically for SEO campaigns, we, like Megan had talked about earlier, we really sit down and listen to what our sales team is telling us, what they're hearing. An example would be they were talking to some Etsy customers that were really qualified. And we're like, okay, they were explaining to us, these would be very great potential customers for the future. So let's try to reach more people that are on Etsy and that are looking for a solution like Ordoro. And so I took that and we ran with it. And we were like, let's create an SEO campaign specifically for Etsy customers. And so I went in and, added all the keywords that we wanted to target and really kind of honed in into how we can get Ordoro to rank higher specifically for Etsy customers that are looking for a shipping and inventory management solution. And so that has been really great as far as keeping everything organized of what I'm doing for Etsy customers, as far as SEO tasks go, as well as I've really loved the recommendations specifically in Demandwell for each campaign that is given. So I really am able to spend my time in the most valuable way possible. So instead of like waiting for our monthly meeting with Betsy or having to send an email, I have a recommendation of what exactly I need to be doing for this campaign for this specific target audience. And that's really like ensured for me that like I said, I'm really putting my efforts towards what's going to be the most helpful and useful for that specific task or target audience that we're trying to reach. So, which has been really nice. We've really enjoyed the SEO campaigns for sure.
Yeah. And I'll jump in and I'll say one other thing. I think the granular reporting that comes with some of the SEO campaigns, like being able to dig into some of the pages and everything a little bit deeper is really nice. I know you said like reporting is something that y'all want to like grow on, but honestly, like the reporting that y'all have now has been wonderful for us because it's been a lot more transparent and insightful and granular than I think any of us have been used to in the past. So doing great already. And then the other thing is we recently launched, or I should say relaunched a free trial version of our platform. And that's been one of the things that I think we've set up an SEO campaign for as well. And that's been really great for us, just to be able to track like all of the keywords that are related to our free trial. And I know in Demandwell, we have a plethora of keywords that are around free inventory management or free shipping software or, best free platform for small business, any of that stuff. And before the free trial, there wasn't necessarily a great way for us to go after those without kind of doing like a bait and switch. But now with the fact that we have a free trial running, it's opened up a lot of avenue for us to go after those keywords. And so being able to implement those into the campaign, I think has been really helpful for Madison and for our team.
I love that you guys have done that. Just like a really tactical question. So taking a step back, you have this campaign and it's about free trials and you're like, how do we use organic to drive more free trials? And you're like, oh, perfect. We have all these like keywords in our universe that have the term free. and then you build the demand page. Do you have like, what's above the fold on those pages? Is it like sign up for the free trial, or how does the flow work? If someone Googles free trial, they land on your page, what happens then?
Yeah. And Matt can jump in here as well, but I think currently the main CTA on our entire site and on all of our demand pages is start your free trial. And that button is above the fold. So that's like right under the headline with like, that little body of text that's under there is kind of a descriptor. So that's immediately right there. So people could convert immediately, but then we've also recently started doing some CRO on some of the top performing demand pages to go in and add in, more CTAs, more information, any guides, any other kind of like references that will either help people stay on the page longer or help them navigate to a page that will give them more information to then convert, further down the line.
It's pretty standard, like Megan was saying, across all of them right now, except for the handful that we started, with CRO stuff. But we what's interesting is we see pretty good conversion rates with those pages, with those CTAs. But of course we want more. We're seeing, we want to like fine tune these. So I think beyond even optimizing a few of them, we kind of want to even make our base template be a little more elaborate's the wrong word, but more fitting to what the actual specific demand page is. So we're actually going to come up with like a suite of different templates for the main demand pages. So when Maddie's building them, she can be like, oh, this is a inventory management one. Maybe we have one based towards that is like the starting point there. And so kind of like the content that's between the initial CTA and the demand, the like long form demand page content that, we sort of have at the bottom there, that could be a little more tailored to that specific message as well. Because right now it's kind of, generic's the wrong word, but it's like kind of like our broad feature set that works for kind of like anything, but we want to kind of hyper focus a little bit more for the specific pages just to make them a little more relevant. So, but what's interesting, even despite that, we still have, I think, way more conversions than I could have ever imagined, honestly. So it's pretty interesting in that regard.
Yeah, I love this point because we've done something similar with our demandable content. It's like, basically, what's the bare minimum page that you need to get this content live, get ranking, and then you can get more sophisticated and be like, okay, what's actually working? Like, let's make those pages better. I love that approach. And it's like low lift in the beginning and then double down on the good stuff. Can we talk a little bit about the KPIs that you're hitting that you're most excited about with your organic program?
Yeah. So, I mean, with our main goal being lead generation, I think the two top level metrics that were most important to us were generally organic traffic. How much were we able to increase that? So top of the funnel, but then also bottom of the funnel, how many like actual organic conversions were we getting? And from when we started with Demandwell, we've seen organic traffic increase by 350%. So huge. And then with organic conversions, we've seen it increase by 139%. We'll call it 140%. So, I mean, just like an insane amount of growth. Honestly, crazy. Like when I pulled those numbers, I was like, oh my God. Like I audibly said, oh my God.
Amazing.
I don't even think that like I thought it was going to be that much, but it's just been huge for us. So they're excited.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and obviously so much hard work went into getting there. Like that's not the Demandwell app did not do that for you. That's like hours and hours of slogging away. So kudos to you guys for putting in the time. Like how long did it feel like it took to like start feeling like you were seeing results? Because SEO is totally one of those things that like it takes a while. It takes a lot of hard work. Once it starts working, it's like such a no-brainer, but it can be hard to get through that phase of like, we're working so hard and we're not seeing results yet. And we just have to wait it out and like keep going, like that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think honestly, like Betsy was really good about being upfront about that when we started working with her, just kind of like letting us know that it is, a long-term play. It's not like, digital advertising where you can throw a ton of money at it and kind of start to see things working and whatever. But then she also explained that like, it might be a long-term play, but once you've done that work, it will just continue to work for you. You know what I mean? So like the long-term benefits of that, honestly, kind of in my mind now outweigh the short-term benefits of something like, digital advertising or something. So,
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is when I first started and we had started working with Demandwell, it was, me and Matt pretty much doing as much as we could. And we were doing a ton of things because Ordoro hadn't necessarily like really focused a lot on marketing before. And so it was hard for Matt and I think, to dedicate as much time to it as we wanted to. So I think that was kind of, we were slow rolling in the beginning. And then not to say that we weren't seeing some results, we were, but then when Madison came on and she started doing 10, 20 demand pages per month, doing supporting blog posts, going in and doing a bunch of internal linking on our blog site and on our main marketing site. I mean, like all of this kudos is honestly to Madison. But as soon as she came on, I think we really started to see kind of like more of a hockey stick type of growth with impressions and clicks. And now we've gotten to the point where we've started to see like a really big increase in conversions. I mean, like I just told you, like 140%. So
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I would say like from when Madison started, because I feel like that's when we were like truly dedicated to SEO, and to where we are now. I mean, like a couple months, like maybe 4 months, 5 months, something like that, before we kind of started to see it going. And now it's just like a rocket.
Yeah. So once the content production really ramped up, that's when you started seeing traction.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, even I coming into my time at Demandwell, I had no idea how impactful content creation was for SEO. Like, and now I'm like, oh, duh. But I focus a lot more on like the infrastructure components of like I said before, title, meta description, like all these little signals to Google, but it's like totally misses the point of like content is really the workhorse. All this growth that you're seeing with organic search, how does that impact your business? Why is that important?
Obviously the biggest impact has been the fact that now we've gotten to a place where this is kind of working for us, and we're able to do things that are not just like getting us in front of people, but actually like improving quality or improving the ranking or improving the number of conversions that are coming in. So it's now kind of getting into a place where it's like, we know that it's working. We've seen that it's working. And I think, again, like one of the most important things is that it's changed our mindset around SEO. And now it's basically opened up an entire new channel to us as a way for lead generation or brand awareness or any other kind of goal that we might have in the future. I think we'll start to integrate SEO into all of those goals that we have. So for me, I think that's been kind of the biggest impact, not only in like my personal view of marketing and SEO, but also for our business.
I will say same for me from a, UI, UX point of view, or like front end engineering. Now I sort of have this in my mind when, because there are the little things you can do even as you're building a page that maybe isn't a specific demand page, but other things. I feel like it's kind of there always now as I'm building even new just feature pages or core pages of our marketing site. We're thinking about these things. And I think just what I've learned too, because, like you even said, it's a lot of work to get to this point. You have to be committed. It's an investment of time. But what's cool is I feel like cost-wise, which is a very important thing to our CEO, we've always done more with less. That's always been our mission. We're a company of like 20 people now, and we have thousands of customers that we support, and release software every week, all that stuff. We all really love working hard to make things more efficient and better. And so that's what's really cool to see the fruits of our labor, because we love building things. We love building the tool that Maddie uses to create the demand pages. So the fact that we know that it wasn't just throwing money at it, which isn't really our vibe. I'd say like, if we had $1 million to spend every month on Google ads, I'm sure we'd see some traction there, but we don't have that. We hardly spend any, and we can spend our efforts and, sort of expertise building tools because we're a product company. And I think that from a morale point of view and everything, it's really awesome to see that, like see a clear, like those numbers that Megan gave you. It's amazing. It's really nice to see that after we put a lot of hard work in, and that fits with what we do with our product as well. So I love that personally, being here forever, that it's another thing that's very similar to like the reason, it's like another reason why I love working here, because we do more with less, which I love. And so it's really cool.
Yeah. It just like feels really good to be able to
Absolutely.
say, we built this thing and like it was hard, but it was worth it. It's great. Madison, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like you said, creating content and continually making, putting content and building the demand pages and supporting blog posts. It's like, it's a lot of repetition, workhorse kind of feel and everything. So it's really fulfilling to know that what we're doing is like showing, a great outcome and showing lead generation, as well as like customers that are coming in and wanting to use our platform and our solutions. So that's been really fulfilling for me, for sure, because it's the daily grind of what I'm doing and just getting that content out there, and to know that it's actually making a difference is really, really great, and makes me feel awesome about what we're doing. So yeah.
Hell yeah, I love that. One of my favorite slides on our quarterly, now I have this slide on our quarterly decks where I write down all the search terms that led to a conversion that quarter. Like, I'm like, yes, like someone was searching for a B2B SEO tool and they found us and they converted. It's like, it's such a win, especially when you know everything that went into it. It's just like, feels so good. So I'm so happy with all of the progress that you guys have seen. And like I said, again, like amazing work. It's a lot of behind the scenes, like not a lot of pats on the back. So really awesome sticking it out.
We've really tried to, we're a pretty technical company, and we've tried, it's funny, even Dustin, our front end engineer, who will tell you he wants nothing to do with marketing, even though he is an official, he thinks he's unofficial, but an official member of the marketing team now. When he hears numbers like this, he's like, damn, okay, it's working. That's cool. Cause he's like, he's a major skeptic like I was. And I think we're just like, all right, cool. And so I think it's easy to get everyone on board with this when you have things like that. And you're like, check this out, because we're all nerds and we love seeing nerdy things happen, and it's great. But that can, we can use data to be like, check this out. Look at where we were a year ago, and look at this now. It's insane.
The biggest part of all of this is like, I don't think any of this would have happened had we not, started to partner with Demandwell, and had we not had these conversations with y'all. Like, I mean, like we said, like y'all completely changed all of our view on SEO and what it can do for us as a business and how it can affect marketing and everything like that. So, I mean, as much work and effort we've put in, none of that would have happened had Demandwell not been in the picture. So I think, we also owe y'all a huge thank you.
So awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for this time.